This is Matt Marquardt at the NorthIowaToday.com headquarters. We are with Natasha Lewerke. She is a Republican candidate for treasurer here in Sarasota County. And the reason we're here tonight is because Tasha has been the subject of a Globe Gazette story that was published Sunday. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Just tonight, or this morning actually. And Tasha would like to say her side of the situation. Tasha, the story basically delves into some emails that were traded in the treasurer's office when you were employed there. Is that correct?
That is correct, Matt.
About in 2016 were these emails mostly traded, or was that 2015?
No, it was 2015.
2015, 2016, okay. And so now, just 3 weeks before Election Day, you are a Republican, you are running against Democrat Pat Wright. She is the incumbent. Just 3 weeks or so before Election Day, the story is published. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're feeling and your reaction to the story and that kind of thing?
Right. So I obviously know that these emails exist. I took part in these emails. If I could go back and change these emails, I definitely would. Emails were exchanged between me and many of the girls in the treasurer's office. Emails are communication between people, not spoken. They're written words. They were never to be shared. At this point in time, they have been shared. They're out there for the public to view. I have apologized for these emails. I have, taken acceptance that I did these emails. I've asked for forgiveness, and I'm just ready to move on from these emails and go forward.
Certainly. And so, like you were saying, Tasha, these emails were pretty much intended to be private discussion between you and your coworkers. Do you feel that it's right that now that they've been put out there, that potentially the person that was, or person or persons that were the subject of the emails, now they know kind of what was said? Do you think the Globe and the persons that delivered these emails to the Globe, do you think they thought about the collateral damage they may or may not have caused by releasing this information?
I think they may have given it a thought, but I think in the end it was all about the story and the defamation of my character, and so it really didn't matter who was hurt by publishing these emails.
Certainly, and that's what some people are saying, and I happen to know that the Globe had an opportunity to do a story on this exact situation quite some time ago. You lost your job, was that in 2016, due to these email conversations?
It was, Matt. I was given an opportunity to resign from my position in December of 15, and then I was actually terminated January of 2016 based on the violation of the IT policy. Okay.
As I was saying, it was brought to my attention that the Globe Gazette was presented with an opportunity to look at these emails quite some time ago, and according to my source, they didn't want anything to do with it. Do you find that to be something of interest, or?
I do. I find that to be quite interesting that at that point in time, it didn't matter about the emails, but now 3 weeks before election and front page Globe, that it's really important now that those emails be shared with everyone.
That is a topic, an opinion that many people may have is email banter worthy of front page hometown newspaper news or not. That's up to the readers to decide. The Globe did a story about emails, but then they began to interject details about transactions involving vehicle registrations. They threw around a figure, roughly $284,000 worth of questionable transactions connected to motor vehicle registrations. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Did that belong in the story, or what was the purpose of them putting that in the story?
So during my period of evaluation, when Pat Wright, current county treasurer, was determining whether or not to terminate my position, she had asked the county or the state auditor, Mary Mosman, to come in and perform an internal audit into the treasurer's office. And I actually do have some of that information with me in regards to what they found. And as part of that, there was this $200 and some thousand figure that keeps being brought up, and I have some of that, and I'd like to share that with the audience.
Yeah, I think our listeners and readers would be interested in knowing, now that they brought that up, what actually happened with the $284,000. Now that money was lost or not collected. Is that correct?
Correct. It was not collected.
So that's $284,000 in revenue that the county missed out on somehow.
That is correct.
Okay, why don't you and keep in mind, keep it simple for people, but tell us what happened with that.
Right. So what happened is I had a dealer come in and visit with me in regards to some title transfers that were going to be taking place. We had the discussion, and I said that based on the information that the dealer was providing me with, I didn't see any issue in regards to what they were wanting to do. And I suggested to them that they go and visit with the DOT motor vehicle investigator and run it by him as well to make sure that they were on board with my thoughts.
Okay.
And that's what the dealer did. And so in turn, then the dealer started bringing in the transactions, and we started to conduct the work. And I would like to just read the small excerpt from that piece of work that Mary Mosman had actually
You've
published.
got the findings from the actual investigation in front of you. Is that correct?
I do.
Natasha?
That is correct.
You brought that along this evening?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you read to us what you have there?
Okay. So based on the DOT's calculation, the dealership and the subsidiaries performing the upfitting avoided paying approximately $283,000 of first-time registration fees and use tax. According to the DOT staff, the county should have identified a concern with the number of vehicles being transferred and notified the DOT at that time. However, DOT staff, which would have been the treasurer's office staff, believed that the transactions were being handled correctly based on information received from a DOT field employee, which would have been the DOT investigator. According to DOT officials, they spoke to the staff person involved in the meeting, and they believed there was a miscommunication regarding the number of vehicle transactions which were going to be processed. And so in the end, there was never any error that was found. The dealer was simply being creative.
So you're saying that there was no error by employees in the treasurer's office?
Correct.
So in essence, are you saying that someone higher up in the treasurer's office should have identified this loophole?
So also...
that caused the $284,000 not to be collected?
Correct. And I'm also going to give the viewers here this evening the information that was also concluded within this audit that was performed by Mary Mosman.
Yes.
And there were a few things that she recommended be changed in the treasurer's office. One was that the treasurer did not review the motor vehicle transactions process to ensure DOT policies and procedures were being followed and the proper fees were being collected. And also, the treasurer should review motor vehicle transactions to ensure all DOT policies and procedures were being followed by all employees. So there were two recommendations based solely on what the treasurer needed to be doing as their duty in that position as treasurer.
I understand. So, in this story that the Globe Gazette published about you, they did interject this line about now, this high dollar amount was missing for whatever reason. They interjected that. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Are people out there trying to make it seem as if you were part of this mishap where these dollars weren't collected, and somehow now that you're not there, this would never happen again? Or what's going on out there on the street? What are people saying?
I have actually been asked multiple times, and acquaintances of mine have been asked, what did Lewerke do with the money? There was no money collected. There was no misappropriation of funds.
So in the findings here from Mary Mosman's office, you're saying, and that you're reading from the findings here, that the employees did not do anything wrong. You're saying that the outcome was that the auditor's office in Des Moines actually put the onus on the treasurer position itself, that they should have, that the person in that seat, and at that time it was Pat Wright and still is, should have done a better job of overseeing the collection of these fees and the processes involved.
That is correct. And I also want to point out that within that examination, when they came in, they looked at a bunch of vehicle transactions in which I would oversee on a daily basis. They went from January 1 of 2013 to June 30th of 2015.
Okay.
They looked at 138 replacement title transactions, and of those, every one was done perfectly in coordinates with DOT standards. They also looked at corrected title transactions, and of the ones selected, every one was done within DOT standards. They did the same with salvage title transactions, and every one was done within DOT standards. So of the entire investigation, everything was done correctly.
Okay. And because it was put in the Globe story, I feel, and the readers have a right to hear your side of what actually happened with that situation. And so we had talked about the computers in the office. We're going to discuss a little bit about that. What that kind of leads me to a more broad question. What was the culture like in the office? What was the computer use like? Was it just in the Globe story? There's yourself, another young lady, and then even another female employee. That's the emails that were traded were implicated with the screenshots and the email lines that the Globe decided to publish. Was that confined, that kind of conduct or behavior, was that just confined to you three employees, or what else, if anything, was taking place in the treasurer's office as far as code of conduct and just behavior?
I would say that the general overall behavior in the treasurer's office was of a gossipy nature. And I will also point out that those are just select emails, that everyone in the office participated in emails of that type. So,
Mrs. Lewerke, are you telling our viewers here that perhaps there are other employees with potentially distasteful email lines that may or may not be out there, or not?
I would say that there are emails that are distasteful that would cover the entire courthouse.
The entire courthouse?
Correct.
Not just the treasurer's office, but the entire courthouse?
Most definitely.
So what's going on in the courthouse then? This is a little slightly off topic, but is this kind of thing just kind of rampant throughout the Cerro Gordo County Courthouse?
I just think when you work in an office environment and gossip by nature sometimes will get the best of people, and you're not allowed to get up and communicate with coworkers, that email sometimes becomes the easiest way of communication.
Right. So some of the thoughts or things that may have been something that normally would be discussed privately, verbally, spilled over into emails.
That is correct.
Okay. So we've pretty much covered the email situation. Did you want to tell me or finish up with the culture situation, that some of the computer use? We discussed off camera, but when you arrived this evening, that you alleged that there was some online shopping going on in the treasurer's office, before, during, or after, potentially, when there was the system got hacked in the office. Just tell us about some of the things that you witnessed then that you wanted to cover tonight.
Right. So I was told by an unnamed source that approximately in February of 2013, there was some online shopping taking place on an individual's computer within the treasurer's office. That computer happened to be the same one that was hacked into, which ended up costing the county a fair amount of funds, because this computer was also the one that was responsible for all of the monetary transfers, including all direct deposits. I myself had direct deposit, which had my birth date and social security number on it. And so the county then had to offer me a watch over my
Yeah, credit protections service that costs each person, that company that's offering that service then charges the county, and that's taxpayer dollars that covers that to make up for it, to protect the potentially lost information that was hacked by, we don't know exactly who hacked that system, but it's been said it was some foreign entity that infiltrated the treasurer's office computer system. Is that correct?
Right. That's how the story was written.
Yeah, and part of that, you told me also off camera, Natasha, that there was just one password that all the employees were using to get into the computer system in the treasurer's office. Is that correct? All of you folks use the same password.
Correct. So that also came out as part of the DOT investigation when the state auditor came in as part of the interviews, that in our motor vehicle system that we use to transfer all titles, all of us had an individual username, but we were all required by Treasurer Wright to use the exact same password. So at any time I could log in and conduct a vehicle transfer under someone else's username. And that was the same the entire 10 years I was there.
Because the usernames are easy to figure out, is that
correct?
Probably...
It's the first letter of your first name and the first 6 letters of your last name, and it was the same for everyone.
So is it your assertion then, Natasha, that the computer security system was somewhat lackadaisical in the office, or?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Okay. And then the online shopping. Who was the supervisor of the employee that was allegedly doing the online shopping then?
That would have been Treasurer Pat Wright.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've already been 17 minutes plus into this interview. We'll kind of get towards the end here, but do you feel like, Natasha, and if there's anything else you want to say, you'll have that opportunity. Do you feel like the timing of this story and the source who ultimately asked for the emails and kind of was the genesis of making this deal happen, i.e. a front page Globe Gazette story, do you feel like this was politically motivated in any way, or Republicans versus Democrats, or in this case, Democrat versus Republican?
I definitely feel like there was a lot of political motivation behind it. I feel that Pat Wright has definitely done anything in her power to make sure that I don't get the position. And from here, like I've said, Matt, that I have owned these emails. I know that I did wrong. You know, my Christian faith has brought me to the point where I have apologized for them. I've asked God for forgiveness. I'm moving forward and onward and upward. And I'm just going to continue on and, ask people for their vote still November 6th. I truly believe that I am still a great candidate for this position.
Well, that was a very good closing statement. I think that we've covered quite a lot of ground, and I think we'll just leave it there.
Thank you, Matt.
You're very welcome, Natasha.